What is happening? Today, I want to talk about the necessity to go through pain, difficulty, suffering, challenge to ultimately come out the other side and become who we're meant to be. And a lot of times in life, that challenge, that suffering, that pain will not be chosen. Some of us might have to take it upon ourselves to find a challenge, find a worthy thing to suffer for. But many of us in life will have the challenge or the pain thrust upon us. And at that point, the only thing we can determine is how we react and what we take from it. This happened to me. I've dealt with chronic back pain for the last 6 years. And for the past 6 years, I have thought that it was a physical problem, something to fix physically. When that didn't work for 6 years, I finally came to the realization very recently that this is a spiritual and emotional problem. This is an initiation into the next stage of my life and into self love and acceptance and compassion and just understanding and fully embracing who I truly am, the things I want to be. And I came to this discovery from hitting rock bottom in regards to my pain. It was just an onslaught of unexplainable pain. But looking back at it, I realized it all came on from stress, and it was really just a sign from the universe. That's like, you can't go on like this anymore. This is not a physical problem. You have to change from the inside out. And that's when my spiritual odyssey began. I was led to the work of Dr. John Sarno, and his whole philosophy is he's the pioneer of the mind body syndrome, which is the brain creating physical pain in the body to distract us from emotional conflict within ourselves, from the emotional pain that lives within all of us, deriving from childhood, from just present life stressors and conflicts, and from just the type of person that we are. All these things feed into this unconscious reservoir of negative emotions that we can't see, we don't understand, we don't know even exist, yet they are really controlling our lives. 5% of our um, mind, of our brain, is conscious. 95% of it is underneath the surface and unconscious. And that is really what is controlling us. In one of my favorite books, um, Under Saturn's Shadow by James Hollis, he says, "We vest much significance in our status as conscious beings, perhaps because consciousness is so hard won, and because it constitutes the known. But the ego, the center of consciousness, is a thin wafer floating on an immense ocean. We all know this intuitively and experientially when we sleep or are stormed by uncontrollable complexes, but we seldom give sufficient weight to what courses within, thinking, perhaps, that what we do not know will not hurt us. This is worth repeating. What we do not know controls us. Beneath ego consciousness lies the personal unconscious, the sum of those things that have transpired since our birth. We may not remember them, but they remember us. This is the realm of the personal complexes. Again, a complex is an emotionally charged experience, the power of which is a function of how large the original affective load, as in the case of a trauma, or how long its influence, as in the case of a relationship." My morning roast going here. Ohio gozaimasu. So this was huge for me, and this is the whole concept behind TMS. Tension myositis syndrome is what Dr. John Sarno called it, but it's also just the mind-body syndrome. And that this unconscious reservoir controls us. It creates pain in our bodies that we are unconscious of. So it's like sadness, anger, frustration, rage, guilt, shame. All these things live in the unconscious, but you might think, like, I'm not angry. That's clearly not causing my chronic pain. I'm one of these people who's like, on the surface, I feel very peaceful and calm, and I don't like to cause problems. That's exactly why there's an unconscious reservoir of rage inside of me that I'm trying to tap into and better understand. But that's where the conflict and the chronic pain comes from. It's the tension of our consciousness, what we think we are. Um, TMSers tend to be perfectionists. They tend to be goodists, just like trying to be good people. Um, Very conscientious. And then in our unconscious, the id, as Sigmund Freud called it, there's this, so we don't really know what's going on here. That's the 95%, and that's that immense ocean that I just referred to. And they are in conflict at all times. So that's our like super ego and our ego, which is like society, and then just what we think of ourselves as the ego, and the id, which is this unconscious ocean of narcissistic, childlike tendencies and qualities that we're unaware of. So, anyways, that's what's happening here. And just understanding that is how you actually heal from most chronic pain, unless it's like a serious acute injury or a serious illness or something. Most chronic pain is due to TMS and our suppressed emotions, repressed emotions, which is wild. And it has sent me, like I said, on the spiritual odyssey, but it's just sent me on an adventure. Every day I am learning unbelievable things about myself, about life, about who I ultimately want to be. I'm really implementing the work of Dr. not John Sarna, Joe Dispenza. He's more of the spiritual side of all of this, and reprogramming our mind and our thinking through meditation and through just living a new life. Because I've had 6 years of chronic pain. If I wake up every day and I think about my pain for the first thing in the morning, which I have done for the last 6 years, like, oh, how do I feel today? Then I'm already living in the past. And if I'm living in the past, that means my future is already determined how I feel. And I'm just learning that our mind controls so much. It controls everything. Our mind and our thoughts and our brain. And I have to unlearn this pain. I have to unlearn the conditioning that I have been conditioned to feel and to think of as me. I have to break from the identity of being somebody in chronic pain to get back to all my activity and old ways of just enjoying life as pain free. Because there's nothing wrong with your body if you have TMS, which is most chronic pain. There's something wrong with your spirit, with your mind. And you have to break from that past mode of being to become somebody new. So with Joe Dispenza, I've been doing his meditations every morning. And realigning my chakras, which are the energy centers in our body. There's 7 in the body. 3, 4, 5, yep. And one above us, Ka, as the Egyptians called it. And so much of our kind of primal energy is stored in the first 3 chakras. And they're, pit of our stomach, behind our navel, and like our root, which is like our ass. And a lot of pain is stored there. A lot of pain, guilt, sexual repression and aggression and traumas, and doing a meditation to bring the energy from those first three energy centers up through my entire body and then out like a fountain, unclogging the fountain and allowing the energy to flow through you. And I've only done two times, today and yesterday, because I'm reading his book, Becoming Supernatural, where he describes all of this, which I highly recommend. And been doing his other meditation, just studying this one, and I've cried the last 2 days while opening the heart chakra. Just this emotion comes over me of like I just feel opening, and I feel the energy like radiating out of me, and I feel the energy flowing more easily through me. And this will take time, but if I'm having these experiences every day where I'm crying, like having these revelations about my past and my childhood and stuff, it's so, how can it not be healing? If my back never healed, if I never got out of chronic pain, still to do this work would be worth it. This has been the most transformative time of my life, and that's what I want to talk about. Actually, it's kind of the main point in all of this, is that without the pain, I would never be doing this. I can't imagine, not with the same intent and intensity and just curiosity and fire. I'm in awe of life, and it's not easy. Like, I'm constantly questioning myself and who I am, journaling every day, doing the meditations, and it feels like I'm finally starting to know myself in a very deep and different way. And without this pain, like I said, of the last 6 years, I would not be doing this. I would not be tapping into it. The pain is an initiation. It's what James Hollis from Under Saturn's Shadow called a necessary wound. And if you're going through something, what is your reaction to it? How are you facing it? Are you facing it as something that's holding you back? Or can you switch that and make it that threshold that you need to walk through, that crucible to get to where you need to go? Because that's what all challenges are. Life is never going to be without challenges. No life is without pain, but it's how we react to that pain that determines the trajectory of our life, that determines who we are. If I can get through this with my joy, my happiness, with my passion, my fire intact, that creates who I am. That is what the phoenix is reborn from. James Hollis, he says, consciousness only comes from suffering. Without some form of suffering, physical, emotional, spiritual, we're content to rest easy in the old dispensation, the old comforts, the old dependencies. To reach this level of consciousness that we are all capable of reaching, we need some sort of wound. And we might even need to bring it upon ourselves. We might need to make some sacrifices. And if we're comfortable where we are, if we're just feeling unchallenged, that's not how we're supposed to be living. You can be unchallenged and enjoying life, and, well, that's your decision. But there's more to you. I think deep down we all know that. And then if you are being challenged and you're letting it destroy you, that's your decision too. Sometimes we'll be given these challenges, this pain in life, and sometimes we must bring it upon ourselves. I'll say it again. It's how we react. It's how our soul remains intact through the adversity that determines the trajectory of our life. to be in this place, it feels like being on the threshold from my old life to my new life. It feels like as I'm forgiving my past and making peace with my family, like just inside of me, and just coming to understand myself in a better way. I'm in this phase of just tremendous growth, but it's almost like a pause in life so I may begin living again. Because my life, I realized since graduating from college, I haven't known adult life without physical pain. I'm like, wow, maybe in a sense, like today, I kind of had as I was reading one of those very transformative books on TMS, The Great Pain Deception by Stephen Ray Ozanich. He's talking about unconsciously, we might be using the pain or just whatever we're going through as a crutch. We may not want to give it up because what we get from it is maybe the sympathy of others or the aid of others, or we think that without this pain we wouldn't have the same support group, people wouldn't treat us the same. And I'm like, wow, do I think that, like, unconsciously? Am I holding on to this because I think I'm not ready for a life out of pain? And it's a crazy thing to think about, but I journaled about it because at first I dismissed it. I'm like, oh, that's not me. But then I'm like, because I dismissed it so offhandedly, like, there might be something there. I've known you graduate from college and you have this ocean, if you're fortunate, before you where you could go in any direction. You don't have to just follow the school trajectory anymore. You don't have to follow what your parents were telling you to do. And that could be paralyzing. And I haven't known like that sort of like be paralyzing, and it could also be liberating. And I haven't known that sort of freedom out of pain. It's been 6 years, my entirety of my 20s. And I'm like, am I ready to step through that threshold into my adult life, literally for the first time? And that's what it feels like. It was 6 years of dealing with this on a physical level, but now it's like, okay, the universe is like, you got to grow up now. You got to do this. You got to understand yourself because you are made for more. You're 28 and it's time to start fucking owning it. It's time to start truly shining, unencumbered by this chronic pain. Mm-hmm. So it's this crazy stage where it's like I'm just taking time to do nothing really. I mean, I'm writing and doing this and stuff, and but I'm just like I'm healing. And when you're in that stage, like, it's even hard for me sometimes because I have these books and I have guidance. Um, there's so much information on TMS. If you just look it up on YouTube, healing TMS, the mind body syndrome, like, it works. Tens of thousands of people have healed exactly like me and like you if you're in chronic pain through understanding their emotions and changing their insides, realizing that nothing physically is wrong, and getting back to life, getting back to just living. But it's still, I'm tested. My faith is tested. Like, how strongly do I believe this? How badly do I want to heal? How badly am I ready to live my life free? That's a real question. Like, are you ready to lose the semblance of identity that is so connected to this pain for so long? What are you if you're just you know, a free soul? I mean, the answer to that is limitless. But I'm asking myself, like, without this thing holding me back, holding me down, what am I? And that's an interesting question. And if you are going through something, if you're dealing with something, if you're in this stage of you're keeping your faith, you're hopeful, you have to be, but it's hard. You don't know what's on the other side. You are in the initiation phase. And from this book, The Great Pain Deception, Stephen Ray Ozanich writes, pain tells us that we are on the verge of change, coming face to face with what we know to be true deep within, yet won't admit to. Faith is then necessary to move forward when the other side can't be seen and isn't fully known. TMS is a liminal effect. Latin, liminal defined as threshold. Liminal space is that space where the first door has been opened but the second has not yet been entered. It is the space in between knowing and not knowing, the threshold of understanding, the space between the yin and yang. All transformation takes place within the limina. Suffering is indeed a pause or space in the life of the person. Illness and pain knock her down so that she can pause. The step through the next doorway is a rebirth, enlightenment, or as the Buddha referred to it, crossing to the other shore. After TMS healing, you cannot go back through the first TMS door. You may want to return the previous knob a few times, as old ways die hard, but you can't reverse understanding gained. Pain itself stands at the edge of transformation. People invariably come through their pain a changed person. Man, this is my light. It's like I feel it so deeply. That's why I'm crying in these meditations. I'm crying in therapy. I cry a lot, and proud of it. It feels good. I need it, but clearly I'm on the verge of change, and you are too. If you can see your challenge that way, no matter what it is. And I don't have the answers. You know, another great quote from this book. Hold on, real quick. Um, Here we go. There are many ironies in the acquisition of knowledge and the healing of TMS. When one expects pain, one gets pain. But I hadn't quite integrated the bigger picture of TMS recovery yet. Recovery is a solid black puzzle at first, with no corner pieces, that must be pieced together, one piece at a time, to the light of personal revelations. That is exactly how I feel. I learned something here in therapy on Monday, and maybe it sinks in the next day, or I realize something here, and I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't have realized this without understanding this. I try a little bit harder in this area and ease up on this. It's this puzzle piece that's like, it's not a linear path, as most things aren't in life that are, like healing and things where we have to have faith. It's a puzzle piece. And I'm looking at this puzzle, and every day I fit in a little bit more here, do something here, turn a knob there, and I just start to see this picture. It's more like, I like to say, stars in a constellation. And he says healing is a black puzzle, but I see it as the black night sky. And the star lights up here, star here, one is kind of dimmed here, there. And then eventually you get this picture that comes together of this constellation of who you are. That is the limina space. That is what I'm going through right now. That is crossing the threshold. And it's exciting, as you may be able to tell from my enthusiasm about all this. I don't know what my life would have been without going through this. I don't know if I would have gone as deep as I do and cared as much about finding joy and going for my dreams if I didn't have this challenge holding me back. Because it's that challenge that is making me push that much harder to get through it and to love life that much more for what I know is on the other side and what I'm already, discovering. It's an initiation, like I said. In the hero's journey, the hero must battle in the belly of the whale until they can be initiated. And that is what we need. That is what we need. So we all have it in us. Life is full of challenges, it's full of pain, but love prevails in the end. It always does. And it will if you just keep pushing forward and realize if you're going through a difficult time that this is the initiation and that you are made to overcome it. And you will. Much, much love.